Welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book Medical Cannabis, no other than Dr. Joseph Rosado.
Greetings and salutations. How's everyone doing this evening?
Fabulous, fabulous, Dr. Joseph. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Dr. Joseph Rosado. I am a primary care physician based out of North Central Florida. The main hub is Ocala, Florida, also known as the horse capital of the world. I am in sunny Florida, have been practicing medicine since 2001. Prior to that, I was a chiropractor. Prior to that, I was a heart cath lab technician. Prior to that, I was a paramedic. Prior to that, I was an emergency medical technician. And prior to that, I was a certified nurse's aide, also known as an orderly. So you can see that from the age of 16 to present, and I turned 63 2 months ago, I have been involved in some area of medicine and or healthcare.
Dr. Joseph Rosado, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And hoping for more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, let's talk about medical cannabis. What inspired you to write about medical cannabis and what gap does your book fill?
Well, this is a follow up to the original book, Hope and Healing: The Case for Cannabis, which you reviewed on Book Review 101 last year, if I'm not mistaken. And so that was published in March of 2019, but available on April 20th of 2019. And then this book was inspired primarily because of the top conditions that people use medical cannabis in the United States to treat those ailments and conditions with medical cannabis. And so those five conditions are named right there on the cover. They include, but are not limited to, but they are limited to in this book, five conditions. First being chronic pain management. That is the number one reason why patients come to my office for medical cannabis, followed by epilepsy and seizures, then multiple sclerosis, then anxiety, depression, mental health disorders, post traumatic stress disorder, and last but not least, cancer and cancer related conditions. So, those are the top five conditions that individuals in the United States seek a medical cannabis doctor to utilize medical cannabis.
How does cannabis interact with the endocannabinoid system to treat chronic conditions?
Good effort. It's the endocannabinoid system, but that's okay. It's medicine. It's medicine. It
It's
is
hard
the
to pronounce.
It is the endocannabinoid system. And for those of you that are hearing this for the very first time or have heard it before but it did not register, the endocannabinoid system is a system that is found in all vertebrates. And it is a system that produces cannabis. So we all produce cannabis, as well as cats and dogs, all animals and humans that contain a spinal cord contain an endocannabinoid system. And when we suffer with or from a chronic disease or a chronic condition, it causes a reduction or a depletion or a lowering of your ability to produce these endocannabinoids, and you end up with a situation or a condition called clinical endocannabinoid deficiency, which was coined by one of my colleagues, Dr. Ethan Rousseau, Russo. I strongly encourage those that would like to read more and learn more about Dr. Ethan Rousseau. But he coined the term clinical endocannabinoid deficiency and linked three specific conditions to that situation or that deficiency, which were migraine headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, and fibromyalgia. Later, and through studies and research, they discovered that chronically debilitating conditions lend themselves to a reduction in the endocannabinoid system production, leading to these chronic debilitating conditions. And by utilizing cannabis, what you're doing is you're returning a to a balanced state, or what we say in medicine, homeostasis, to be well balanced, good equilibrium. And so that is how cannabis interacts with the endocannabinoid system to address and treat chronically debilitating conditions.
What is the most misunderstood aspect of cannabis as a medicine, Dr. Joseph?
The most common misnomer or myth is that cannabis, whether it's medical or adult use, and I'll explain that here shortly, but the biggest concern is that it is a gateway drug. It is going to lead individuals to further more dangerous street drugs that can cause further greater problems to the person. And the reality is that most people utilize a legal substance or utilize legal substances well before they utilize cannabis. And I am referring to alcohol and cigarettes.
And Dr. Joseph, which conditions show the most promising results with medical cannabis based on current research?
Well, there have been a lot of studies done showing the benefits of utilizing cannabis for chronic pain, specifically chronic non malignant pain, not to be confused with malignant pain, individuals that have cancer and the cancer has spread, and that spreading of the cancer causes a malignant type pain. But individuals that have a non-malignant chronic pain, individuals with low back pain, neck pain, herniated or bulging discs, pain radiating or shooting down their legs, these are non-malignant or chronic non-malignant pain. Now, a question that I get asked frequently is, what is the difference between medical cannabis and adult use or recreational cannabis? The reality is that they are one and the same. Cannabis is medicine. And by utilizing it as medicine, people have been self medicating with cannabis. They just have chosen not to go to a physician to get the recommendation and go through the steps that have been deemed necessary in certain states or countries. But in certain jurisdictions where it is available in an adult use dispensary to be able to go in without a recommendation from a physician, all they are really doing is they are self-medicating their ailments, their conditions, because they know that by using the cannabis, it helps with their chronically debilitating conditions. So, number one, chronic pain. But studies have been shown and reports have been published on mainstream television stations, particularly CNN, where Dr. Sanjay Gupta, the medical correspondent for CNN, did a series of shows entitled Weed, with the first show demonstrating how cannabis helped this young girl by the name of Charlotte Fiji, who suffered with intractable seizures. She was having 2 to 300 seizures per day, and the utilization of a specific brand of cannabis helped her control her seizures.
Can you explain the difference between THC and CBD in treating neurological disorders like epilepsy?
Excellent question. Yes, sir. Let's say that if cannabis were a cowboy movie, a North American cowboy movie, CBD would be the cowboy dressed in white, and THC would be the cowboy dressed in black because they want to make THC the villain. They want to villainize THC. The reality is that they both work very well together. THC's receptors are found primarily in the brain and the spinal cord, whereas the CBD receptors, or where CBD works, is found in the peripheral nervous system or the nerves outside of the spine, which include cranial nerves, as well as systems that deal with immunity. And so, white blood cells, bone marrow, the thymus gland, the spleen, areas that deal and are involved with immunity and building up your immunity. But together, they work very nicely because they both are anti inflammatory agents and they both are antioxidant. And so they help pick up a lot of the debris or junk that causes inflammation in the body. And as a result of that inflammation in the body, people develop diseases or lack of ease. Disease meaning lack of ease. And so together, it's better than by itself. But uh, a little bit of science, THC is 20 times, 20 times more powerful than aspirin as an anti inflammatory, and twice as powerful as hydrocortisone as an anti inflammatory. So there you understand that THC has as much of a medicinal value as in as CBD, and more so than aspirin and steroids, which are prescribed regularly by my colleagues to treat individuals with chronic pain and chronic diseases.
What is your framework for determining the right dosage for a new patient, Dr. Joseph?
The dosage is determined on multiple things. First and foremost, what their condition is, what their diagnosis is. Secondly, their level of knowledge and experience in utilizing cannabis in general. There are certain individuals that have been using cannabis since, their early adulthood years, and they know what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what they like to use, what they do not like to use. And so those individuals, it's more of a matter of fine tuning and tweaking so that they can get better results than they've already received. My naive users, my inexperienced users, those are the ones that take a little bit more time because we need to figure out what works for them. More importantly, we need to learn at what level it works for them because cannabis has a specific property that is called biphasic. Biphasic meaning that at a low dose, it has one effect, but at a higher dose, it has the complete opposite effect. An example that I like to use frequently is when using cannabis and uh, discussing the libido in men. For years, people have said men that use cannabis have or suffer with or from erectile dysfunction. They are unable to obtain or maintain an erection. Studies have shown that at a low dose, it stimulates a man's libido, sex drive, whereas at a higher dose, it has the opposite effect. It causes them to feel tired, sleepy, uh, listless, and decreased uh, in their sex drive or their libido. Again, there are other components to the plant that we can discuss and learn at a future program. But today, generally speaking, at a low dose, we get one effect. At a high dose, we get the opposite effect. And so, when working with a new patient, I have to take these items into consideration as I make my recommendation.
Dr. Joseph, how do delivery methods affect treatment outcomes?
In medicine, we have a situation called pharmacokinetics or pharmacodynamics. How you ingest something will determine how quickly your body will assimilate it and how quickly you get the effect of it, but more importantly, how long it's going to stay in your system. So, for example, when one inhales, whether they smoke it, they vape it, they use a nasal spray, they use a meter dose inhaler, however they inhale it, they're going to get the effect within 3 to 10 minutes. However, the effect is only going to last 2 to 4 hours. When you take an edible, like a gummy, it can take 2 to 4 hours for you to feel the effect, but it stays in your system 6 to 12 hours, depending on how you metabolize. So, for that reason, I like to mix and match. And so, I'll have the person inhale, I'll have the person put some oil under their tongue, which takes 30 to 90 minutes for them to feel the effect, but then it lasts 4 to 6 hours. And then I'll throw in an edible. Now they're looking at something that's going to take 2 to 4 hours to kick in, but it's going to be in the system 6 to 12 hours. So if someone, let's say, is suffering with or from insomnia and they have a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep, now we combine the inhalation with the edible. The inhalation is going to put you to sleep. The edible is going to keep you asleep. And that is how we utilize different modes of administration to treat a simple condition such as insomnia, which, when people suffer with and from insomnia, it's detrimental to their livelihood because they are not able to rest and they can go days, sometimes weeks, without getting a proper night's sleep, and it affects all areas of their lives.
Dr. Joseph, what is the most dramatic patient's transformation you've witnessed using medical cannabis?
Oh my. That that is probably the hardest question I've been asked, simply because I've worked with and managed so many patients, and every day I see miracles and hear stories about miraculous things happening from individuals, being pain free or being cancer free or being free of epilepsies or seizures. Just yesterday, an individual that had been taking very strong anti seizure medication, when I saw him, he told me that he has not been on his seizure medicines for about 3, 4 months. And he was able to get his driver's license back. So now he's able to drive again because he's not had a seizure in over a year, and he stopped taking his seizure medicines about 3, 4 months ago, and he's only medicating with the medical cannabis. And now he's able to be self-sufficient, be independent, drive himself to and from school and work, where for a year he was confined to his home or using Uber, which got a little bit expensive.
Dr. Joseph, how do you address skepticism from patients who doubt cannabis as a
It's
medicine, I should say?
Yeah, it's not so much the patients that have issues, it's their significant others or their family members. That's the challenge, because the patient is convinced that something has to help them. They've not been helped. They've not been uh, getting the proper treatment, the proper care. And so, for that reason, they have looked to cannabis as their last effort, their last ditch effort. Nothing's worked. This may as well, there's no other options for them. It's their family members that feel uneasy and have the skepticism because of all of the negative propaganda that has existed in not only the United States, but all over the world when it comes to the topic of using cannabis in general, but specifically using it for medicinal reasons.
Medicinal, for sure. So, what's the biggest obstacle to a wider acceptance of a medical cannabis in healthcare?
Hundreds of years of misinformation from government agencies and religious leaders.
Mm, yes. So, how do you navigate the stigma still associated with cannabis use?
What I'm doing tonight with you, sir, and that is educating the world, educating the public, helping people understand that this is one more tool in their toolbox. I never said it's a cure all. I never said that it cures everything or everybody. It is an excellent alternative or an augment uh, it augments the treatment that they are already receiving. Combining the cannabis with their conventional medicines is a good step in the direction of their recovery, because where their conventional medicines may be falling short, the cannabis can come in and support that area where they can then eventually, like this gentleman that was on epileptic medicines, was able to stop using those medications and just uses and relies on the cannabis.
Dr. Joseph, what emerging research on cannabis excites you the most?
Looking at cannabis for the what they are called the lesser conditions, the conditions that aren't as sexy or don't get a lot of promotion or attention. The conditions that are exist and are there, particularly the autoimmune diseases, conditions that the person's the disease looks at the body as the enemy and begins to attack the body. And so these conditions that are not well discussed or frequently discussed, those conditions are exciting to see how medical cannabis or cannabis is helping individuals with these types of ailments and conditions.
Dr. Joseph, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my Book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my Food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. So, Dr. Joseph, if you could change one policy or perception about medical cannabis, what would it be?
What I sign on every book when I give my autograph on my book, and that is hashtag cannabis is medicine.
Cannabis is a medicine, people, and take it moderately. Dr. Joseph, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Absolutely. The easiest way to do so is going to my website, which is josephrosadomd.com. josephrosadomd.com. Until next time, peace.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. Joseph Rosado because if you support him for sure, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Dr. Joseph, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for yours, Daniel. Until next time.
More to come, people. See you soon.